Welcome to Slovenia Business Bridge, organized by AmCham Slovenia and Spirit Slovenia. We are about to begin the roundtable, Green Heart of Europe, Hub for High-Tech and Innovation. Special thanks to our premium trusted partners, Google, MasterCard, and Nova KBM. Please welcome Mrs. Vida Dolenc-Pogacnik, COO and International Cooperation Director at AmCham Slovenia.
Dober dan. Dober dan, lepo pozdravljeni ponovno, and I'll continue in English. Welcome all new participants and hello again to old participants who have been with us from this morning. Slovenia, the green heart of Europe, offers unique factors that make it an ideal hub for high-tech ventures and investments. The country offers a highly skilled workforce, a strong education system, and a strategic location of the crossroads of Europe. Why investors invest in Slovenia and what needs to be changed and improved? These questions, among others, will be raised with the guest speakers who, as foreign investors, know Slovenia and have invested in Slovene businesses. Please welcome Andrzej Bartos, Senior Partner in Nova Capital. Rob Irving, Co-Chair Global Private Equity Dentons. Niklas Pichler, Managing Partner, Blackpeak Capital. And of course, the panel chair, Matjaž Ulčar, Managing Partner, Law Firm Ulčar and Partners.
Ladies and gentlemen, spoštovani in spoštovane, welcome, dobrodošli to our second panel discussing the investment in Slovenia and investment from Slovenian countries in Slovenian companies in the region. We will discuss today with our distinguished panelists, all of them seasoned investment professionals with track record of Slovenian and regional investments, why investors, both foreign and domestic, invest in Slovenia and in broader region. And as we all strive for improvement, we will also discuss what still needs to be improved to ensure and reach the full potential of this green heart of Europe. Andrzej, we'll start with you. You're a senior partner with Innova Capital with more than 20 years experience in private equity. We know how to make it happen, your website says. And track record of Innova Capital shows that you indeed do. You have exited Trimo Investment about a year ago, and you've mentioned on several occasions that Trimo was a success story, both for you as investor and for company. Trimo became second largest player in European market in its industry branch. And what were the reasons behind this success story, and what role innovation played in it?
Over 29 years of Innova's existence, I joined indeed 20 years ago, but the firm has been investing almost 30 years. We've learned many things, but one of the most important ones is that for a company to be successful, all of the elements of the business have to fit together. So not only the product, but also strategy, values, organization, leadership, and capital structure. Only the companies with those elements fitting together and aligned can be successful in the long run. What we saw in Trimo originally was great product, but all the other pieces were not fitting. And that was our mission, and that's indeed what we accomplished. Over 5 years of holding period, we more than doubled, almost trebled the EBITDA. But then, very importantly, as you mentioned, the company moved from number 4 in its industry in Europe to number 2 position. And actually strengthened its position mainly in Western Europe, which are the most competitive markets and with many local competitors, on the back of the product qualities, but also the new organization, the new strategy, new ways of acquiring customers, and that really was behind the success.
And what would you say was the most important element that Innova brought to the table? Looking at your webpage when you are listing your core values, it was very interesting to see fun as one of the core values that you are promoting. Very intrigued, how does this play in the success of an entrepreneur?
So in Trimo, it was not fun originally, but it was when we were selling, to be honest. I think the most important thing that we brought was the new leadership. Those of you who attended the opening panel yesterday saw Boża Czernila, who was the CEO we brought to the business. Boża got a lot of support from us when it came to implementation of the strategy that we agreed for the business. And built around himself a local team that delivered the value creation. But fun is important for us not only when doing business, but also in our own organization. I mean, my team works very hard. We have almost 20 investment professionals who spend days and nights working businesses. And it's not possible to be long-term in this business unless you really enjoy it. And that's the fun part that we try to promote as well internally.
Yeah. You've mentioned a capable local management team as one of the key ingredients. What, in addition to a capable management, you're looking in a company when you're deciding to invest?
In Slovenia, as the domestic market in most industries is relatively small, we're looking for businesses who have truly international potential. And over the last few years, we have had not only investments in Trimo, but also 2 other companies that are truly international. CVS Mobile was a telematics business based in Ljubljana that we sold last year as part of our exit from one of our portfolio groups. And we still have a business in Slovenia Gradec, another very innovative company in digital printing technology called Label Profi. All of these 3 companies have amazing success internationally. What's interesting, there was a lot of discussion about the cost of operating in Slovenia. Despite higher cost of operation in Slovenia, those companies enjoy premium margins. They operate at almost double the industry average margins. So it's possible, if you have the right model, if you have the right product, the right strategy, the right team, it's possible. And I don't think the cost of operation is a prohibitor. Again, what's very important is that all those pieces fit together and you take this business internationally. That's really what drives the success.
Yeah, looking for a global market. With us is also Rob Borivink. You're a global co-head at Dentons at private equity. And you do have a significant track record in Slovenia, which is interesting for a global head of private equity of one of the biggest worldwide law firms. I think we've met in 2010 or 2011 when one of the global private equities was carefully looking at Mercator. Then you've done Droga Kolinska, which was for quite some time a landmark transaction in Slovenia. You've been involved in a couple of privatizations, attempted privatization of telecommunications operator, successful privatization of a bank that we've all heard about yesterday. Developed into quite a success story as well. And recently you've done an acquisition of a software developer, right? So having experience, long-term experience with Slovenian market, how did the investment landscape evolve? What do you see? What are the trends that you see with the investors?
So when I first started to work in Slovenia with investors approximately 15 years ago, the discussion was all around the older traditional companies, the telecoms, the petrols, the palomas, and there was, of course, quite a lot of complicated situations around shareholdings, whether the state was a shareholder, whether there were distressed shareholders, so on. And investors really dug in, and if they were going to be successful, they spent a lot of time to try to unlock difficult situations. I think I don't see that too much anymore. I don't get the calls asking about these more traditional companies and from investors. The investors are calling about exciting entrepreneur-led companies, software companies, other cutting-edge technology companies. And that, to me, represents a fundamental shift in Slovenia and the future of Slovenia, where the youth, the education, the energy of Slovenia can really be the shining light to attract investors.
So you actually see the shift in interesting industrial sectors? Yes.
For sure. You know, anything around healthcare, education, software, so on. These are where I get the most inquiries about Slovenia these days.
Once the investor finds a right target, a right partner for the future, what's important for the transaction to get done? I mean, we've seen cases where there were a willing investor, a suitable partner, but it just didn't happen.
So, look, Slovenian entrepreneurs drive a hard bargain. There's no question about it. But I'd say a fair bargain, and I would say that from the investor point of view, you know, dealing with one or a couple of entrepreneurs is much easier than dealing with the state as it used to be, and you know, making the growth plans. It becomes exactly as Andre mentioned about how you can scale the business internationally. What kind of product and mindset does the Slovenian company have that can be scaled truly on an international level? And that's where the excitement comes from. The partner comes in, is able to add to that, and I think that's definitely where you see the most investment coming these days.
Being a trusted advisor to many investors, you've mentioned you're receiving calls. What do you tell them when you hear about the transaction with Slovenian component? Curious, what do you tell them about our little country?
Certainly that it's a country that has tremendous skills, tremendous energy. Because it is a small market, people are used to thinking regionally or globally because they have to. If you're a software company, you can't think about just serving the Slovenian market. You start maybe with the Slovenian market, you move to the Southeastern European market, and then you start moving throughout Europe. It's a very natural progression. So I tell them there's definitely the education, expertise, the mindset of people that can make it a very successful investment.
Nick, you at Blackpick Capital, you say that you discover and invest with visionaries, helping them to make a world-class company. And you have discovered a couple of visionary entrepreneurs in Slovenia, apparently, as you also do have a couple of investments here. Recently, you've just invested in a, what is it called, innovative provider of healthcare and lifestyle solution based on genetic testing. That sounds very complicated. What was the driver behind the investment? What was the why you decided? What convinced you to invest?
Yeah. So we, as Blackpick Capital, we have a slightly different approach. We are minority investors. So what it means is that we are usually trying to find situations where the entrepreneurs don't want to cash out now, but they want to still, you know, grow the business, and they need money for that to accelerate that. So we have two investments. They're actually in two entirely different kind of life cycles of the investment. One is Resalta, which is a company that is about to be exited. It's energy efficiency company, and the other one, as you mentioned, is Gym Planet. It's indeed a complicated kind of, even in terms of what they do, and it took us a lot of time to get our heads around it. But it's a company, I think what both companies have in common is that Slovenia is small, as we've heard. So both companies have, from a very early stage on in their development, they had a drive to export, to go abroad. In Resalta's case, it was Southeast Europe, so to consolidate the market. And in Gym Planet's case, it's a bit of a broader region. The company is already operating in 35 countries. Sorry, 35 countries. So here, the idea is still pretty much the same, is to, and as Andrea said, it's to consolidate the markets. These markets are, if you look at them on a standalone basis, for many strategic, too small to really enter and to roll up. So this provides a great opportunity for companies in Slovenia to do exactly that, and then sell to a strategic, then the whole package, the whole region further down the road. So kind of that's very much the investment thesis why we are very much where we like the region, and the thesis to create local market leaders and then more regional market leaders. I think this is valid for all the investors here in this room.
Yeah. So making them a world-class company is benefiting from the niche markets, scaling the production, going abroad. How do you achieve that? How do you motivate the management to do this one extra further step?
I mean, one thing is, and this is also adding to Andre's comments about what we look for in companies. It's I think for all investors it's pretty similar. What we try to understand from an early stage on when we talk to companies is what drives them. Where do the entrepreneurs, where does the company want to be in 5 years down the road? And sometimes there is a mismatch when entrepreneurs say, well, they want to grow, but they don't feel comfortable making acquisitions. And then we discuss this, because this is kind of our added value, because we have done this many times, and this is something where an entrepreneur probably has never done an M&A transaction. So it's trying to see whether we can do something together, something bigger, and if there is a match, if we think, because we as a minority investor, it's also very important that we need to be seen on an eye-to-eye level with the founders, with the majority shareholders, because otherwise it will not work. So how we do it is basically defining the strategy, where we want to be in the next 5 years. Very often we are then kind of the M&A machine for the company, because in many cases these companies are really growing organically, but even more so they are doing not just greenfield, but they're acquiring established companies in other regions. And with our network that we have in CE, and I'm based in Austria, so I also have good relationships in DACH region. We really try to leverage on that, and then grow these companies to ideally to European market leaders in certain niches.
And there's a question for you, but for Andrea as well. What would be your advice to Slovenian entrepreneurs or regional entrepreneurs looking for funding of their business idea?
I think it's sometimes to be courageous enough to punch above your weight. We have seen it many times that companies that have developed a good product, that have the right team, that if they really push themselves to the next level, I think they can achieve great things. Obviously, it's not that easy to say, and sometimes we also have to hold back founders when they say they want to, in 2 years they want to kind of conquer the world and have offices globally. So you need to do this in stages. Some people need a bit more push, and some people you need to hold back a bit more. But I think these are the right ingredients. If somebody is open for that, and with the support also of the investor, and we will never be able to tell the company how he should run his operations, but I think what we can tell him is to sense check strategy and to help him execute this, especially the inorganic growth strategy.
Andrei, from your side, advice to entrepreneurs?
Don't be afraid to bring in talent from outside, to be honest, because as some of the panelists yesterday mentioned, I mean, the country can only produce this many software engineers and other engineers or talented people, and for the businesses to be successful globally, you need to have also international talent at your disposal. It doesn't mean that there's not enough talent here, but it means that maybe there's talents that could be absorbed or brought in or deployed internationally as well. And I think that's something that we always advise people. Don't be shy. Go and build international organizations, because they will deliver international growth. And that's probably the advice I would give.
Yeah, look across the borders. That's what we are going to do a little bit now, because you are all experienced in the region, not just Slovenia. I mean, in order to improve, in order to understand what we have here, what we need to do to have our ecosystem even more attractive, we need to compare ourselves with the countries just around us. What is your comparison between Slovenia and other countries in the region? That's a question for everybody. So, Rob, will you start?
When I look at it, and I've advised on technology transactions in, I think, six countries in the last 4 years, involving, on the other side, Microsoft, Cisco, Intel, so on. When I look at Slovenia, there definitely is innovation, creative thinking. The engineers, software engineers are fantastic. I think, in terms of what could be improved, is unleashing the entrepreneurial class more by lowering taxes, particularly the indirect taxes. Because for small and medium-sized businesses, it's just too high, and the unpredictability of it. When entrepreneurs go to sell, also makes it difficult for investors accepting the risk involved in past practices in some of the entrepreneur companies. So if I had one wish, it would be reform on the small and medium-sized companies and how they're taxed, so that you unleash the entrepreneurial spirit.
Andrei, comparison between Slovenia and...
I think some of the elements of this comparison, I think we all alluded to already. So if I compare investing in Poland, Romania, Czech Republic, and Slovenia, for example, clearly, Slovenian market is expensive to operate in, but that in itself is not an obstacle. It just means that the businesses here have to create more value add and export this value add to achieve scale. And that's just a different type of business building. You can achieve scale and success in Poland if you're only working on the domestic market. Here you need to go abroad. Since your cost position is high, you have to offer high value add and sell at high prices. And it is possible. So in all of our companies, we've been very successful doing this. The small company we still own in Slovenia, Gradec, every employee produces 50,000 euro of operating profit. That's extremely high number for any country. It's not revenue, it's the operating profit. And that's because they really have a business model that allows them to charge for the value add that they create. And everyone is happy. The customers, the shareholder, the employees, the community as well. So it's possible. It's just a little bit different type of business profiles that we are focused on here versus some of the other markets we invest in.
But in order to attract that investment and be attractive to you, you have to get to that stage. And that's the lucky few. And I guess my point is on the earlier side, as the companies are just growing up. That's where the indirect taxes can make the difference. Once they've reached the size of attracting your or Nick's investment, yes, they've managed to differentiate themselves and create that value-added model.
So what you're saying is relaxing or giving them more flexibility would allow more companies to grow to the size interesting enough?
These gentlemen will invest.
That's a very good point.
Maybe, again, to add from a minorities investor perspective, I think what I see here in Slovenia, that entrepreneurs, founders are much more open in terms of corporate governance and reporting. We're investing in Southeast Europe, so probably the situation is more similar to Central Europe. But if we're talking about countries like, I don't know, Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, I think very often the founders, they do the reporting for the tax authorities, right? Because they don't see the benefit. Corporate governance is also similar, they're not kind of used to having a partner on board and that has certain rights and seeing this partner on eye-to-eye level. I think it's changing also with the new generation, with the more, the innovative companies emerging in the different segments, IT, software, and so on. So I think that's one reason which I very much appreciate here in Slovenia. This is much more advanced. And I also see when looking at companies in Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, doesn't matter, very often the next step of expansion is, well, we are a Bulgarian company, so let's go to Serbia, let's go to Romania. Here in Slovenia as well, let's go to Germany, Austria. So this kind of the door is much more open, and people see this door to Western Europe, which is a great thing, because I agree, they have higher value-added services, so it's, I think, easy also to compete on that level in Western Europe.
So that's also a very interesting thought. We should be looking more to the West than to the East.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe one point I forgot to mention is tax-wise. I mean, we have heard this today, yesterday. I mean, in Bulgaria, corporate income tax rate is 10%. Personal income tax rate, 10%. Also, stock options and so are much easier to grant them from a tax perspective in some of these countries versus it is here in Slovenia or also in Austria. So I think the setup, the framework is sometimes more challenging, but on the other hand, that pushes also Slovenian companies to go further.
Just being warned that our time is actually slowly to the end. One last question, one for Europe. You've already mentioned what you'd do if you were a king for a day. Say more flexibility.
I know I'm harping on it a lot, but the lower taxes and indirect taxes for the entrepreneur-led companies.
Andrzej, your time as a king, one thing, what's going to happen?
How much time do I have?
Not much, I'm afraid.
Just one day?
Just one day.
It's very, very difficult, but we saw a great panel of entrepreneurs this morning. If I were a king, I would let the entrepreneurs and business people run business. And I would take care only of the infrastructure to enable running business. I think practically, I was really shocked by the floodings earlier this summer. So if I was a king, I would make sure that the proper flood controls and prevention infrastructure is in place. And actually, the businesses that operate in those regions can insure themselves. And that's the role of the good government, to make sure that people are not punished because they happen to start business in the regions that are maybe difficult from time to time.
Okay. Ending up with Nick, we won't make you a king for a day, but you are a board member of Invest Austria, which is a network that you say you are connecting investors with Austrian entrepreneurs. Right. And there was a recent, very interesting development in the startup ecosystem in Austria. You're discussing two very interesting changes, right?
Exactly. I think what Austria is, I would even say, behind Slovenia in many ways. And one of the things is that, starting up a business in Austria is costly, is bureaucratic, And also from a tax perspective, from a legal perspective, it's really a challenge. So what now Austria is starting to reconsider is making life easier for entrepreneurs that really want to do, found a startup. So there's an initiative now that basically it's not through Parliament yet, but they want to establish kind of a hybrid company between a joint stock company and the private limited company. The benefit would be is that from a share perspective, so that you can, with this company, you don't have to form a joint stock company, which again, you need a board, an advisory board. It's super costly to run that. But this would have the benefit that you can give stock option to employees, so they become shareholder on day one. This wasn't possible with a private limited company, so that's something that was kind of changed. So this hybrid company allows for that. It's also much easier to establish it. Also, there is no minimum corporate income tax anymore. So things that basically make life people and encourage them to found their startup. And people and politicians are realizing now that the whole startup scene is so important, because for technology perspective, we all smart people here in Slovenia, and we don't want that people take the ideas and then set them up in the UK or in the US.
That's very interesting, and also a good message for all of the people from the government in the public. I mean, we are very good in copying Austrian legislation, especially in corporate world. Flexco, as it is called, this hybrid structure sounds very, very interesting, and once it's implemented, looking forward to have it copied here. Thank you for your patience, everybody.
Thank you, Matjaž, and our excellent investors from abroad. I just need to make a small comment, because if I'm not going to do it, my CEO will do it. We are not a small country, we are just the right size country. You need to bear that in mind, please. And Slovenia is not just the right size country, it's also a green country. And it is my great pleasure to invite on the stage Mr. Rok Capelj, Acting Director of Spirit Slovenia. But first, again, thank you for being the co-organizers for the 7th time, really, 13 years already, in partnership.
Okay, hello everybody. I don't know if I need to wait for the video.
You can, but you can say hello first.
Okay, absolutely. Hello everybody. I will start with hello my friends, business partners, distinguished guests. I'm really, really happy and honored that I can be here today with you on behalf of Spirit Slovenia Business Development Agency, and of course on behalf also our ministry. Absolute thank you to MCHAM. I'm definitely honored that we can do it 13 years now. We did this year in April a very, very successful business forum delegation, outgoing delegation to Dallas, more than 200 companies, politics, from government, from Dallas, from basketball club. And I must say that in Spirit Slovenia, as government agency, our main goal is to promote Slovenian business abroad. And through our campaign, which will be on video after my speech in 2019, we chose 40 of our Slovenian companies. Through their stories, we presented abroad, also in America. With MCHAM, we are building bridges between our countries, and thank you, Aisha and MCHAM, your team, and of course my team, that we are so successfully. And I think that today's event, yesterday's event, all the panels just shows that there is an interest in our companies to cooperate. And thank you once again, and I wish you all pleasant stay here in Slovenia. And I think this is also important to see where we are going, and to feel us as Slovenia. And like we say, I feel Slovenia is the only country in the world who have love inside. So thank you very much again.
Slovenia may be small in size, but it's big in its achievements and its investment potential. As a technologically developed and creatively orientated green country, Slovenia has gained international recognition in the past years, thanks to the exceptional work of its innovative companies and the worldwide communication campaign, I Feel Slovenia Green Creative Smart. Created by Spirit Slovenia Business Development Agency, it has but one goal: to highlight Slovenia's main competitive advantages and help foreign companies find new business or investment opportunities. With over 25 years of experience, Spirit Slovenia has become the primary source and single point of contact for potential foreign investors and international companies. To promote the country's cutting-edge business environment, Spirit Slovenia has chosen 41 best local companies as ambassadors for Slovenia's business. And although they excel in various fields, ranging from mobility, robotics and digitization, to environmental technologies and creative industries, they are united in their sustainable efforts, smart solutions, and high-quality products. Doing business in green, creative, and smart Slovenia is fast and simple because of its reliable economy and experienced people who are always open to new ideas. Start your venture now and grow with Slovenia, a land of infinite potential for your business. Make the most of it.
So we saw and heard how to invest and how to do business into green, creative and smart Slovenia. But from investors' perspective, Slovenia is a part of the region and could be an access point to Western and Eastern Europe markets. Our following guest speakers, Slovenian investors, will discuss why investors invest in Slovenia and the region. Please welcome Matjaž Filipič, partner and founder KF Finance and Alfi Funds. Jure Mikuš, managing partner, South Central Ventures. Janez Krubej, partner in Vera Equity Partners. And panel chair Marko Ketler, senior partner and attorney at law at Ketler and Partners, member of Karanović.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second part of our panel with the investors. We heard how international investors are seeing Slovenia and the region as a potential destination for deploying their funds. We heard what Spirit Slovenia thinks of Slovenia as a potential area for foreign investments. And I have the pleasure to host the domestic, or better to say, regional investors. The investment landscape has changed significantly in the last 5 to 10 years. Not only we have a lot of international investors from hedge funds, private equity funds, and corporates searching for great companies in Slovenia, we also have domestic and regional funds. And it's my pleasure to introduce each and one of them. And Vida has said some nice words about them. I would like to add some personal notes. Janez, partner at Vera Equity Partners. I met Janez in 1996. It was 27 years ago. I still had hair, and I was young and enthusiastic, and my mom sent me to England to study English. And guess who was my guide? It was Janez. Not only that, a few years after me, Matjaž was also Janez's student. So Janez was a leader since his young age.
That's how your career started.
Yes, yes. Matjaž, partner and founder at KF Finance and Alfi Funds. In 2019, he was invited to a party, a corporate party in Maribor. Of course, he was a busy man. He could not go. So he told to his colleague that she can bring a +1 to that party. She brought a beautiful young lady whom I met. And that same lady became my wife 3 months ago. So Matjaž, thank you very much for
Good luck.
Party. Thank you. At last but not the least, Jure. With Jure, I share no history, no stories, which is great. It's always always a good time to build bridges and to meet new and interesting people. So I'll start with you, Jure. Can you please briefly tell us a bit about your fund and share a success story that you made in the last few years?
Okay, thank you. And yeah, good morning still. I've started being a venture capital investor 15 years ago. We established the Slovenia first venture capital fund at that point. It was a micro fund in today's terms, but it was a huge step for us. With that fund, we invested in a few companies in Slovenia and Croatia. The most prominent or successful was a company called Celtra, which you might know. We exited this company a few years ago. We raised our second fund in 2015. We call this as our sort of graduation, because at that point we raised funds from EIF, EBRD, and some other international institutional and private investors, with some help from Slovenian, mostly private investors. Not so many institutional investors were present in this fund. And yeah, we're super excited, happy, and thrilled to have now up and running our third fund, which we raised at the end of 21. It's again sponsored or backed by multinational financial institutions, some institutional investors from Slovenia, and some privates. Out of these two latest funds, our most successful company is probably a company called Cognizant, which is basically a company that brings together bridges like this event is called today, because we have that's a complicated one, and a UK founder with some roots in Turkey and Italy, who lives in Switzerland, but he has a co-founder from Croatia that established a product team in Macedonia. And today we invested in a company when there was the pre-money valuation was around a couple of $1 million, and today we have a $500 million company out of this.
Congratulations. A true global story. Matjaž, Alfie Funds, a success story originated in Slovenia. Can you share a bit about your funds, what you do, and pick one investment that you are proud of?
We started as advisory company. Maybe it's important to stress out, today we are speaking about the funds, business environment, investments, but only 5 years ago, nobody knew about the funds industry, how funds operate, which is like crazy how many things change in only 5 years. So as I said, we started as advisory company, and Slovenia just the right size of the state, of the country, but still it was, many deals were in between, let's say, between 2 and 10 million, and this is too small sometimes for bigger players. And we saw there is a lack of generation succession stories. There were still some restructuring things, some holdings were selling non-core businesses. And this is where we saw our opportunity. And what differentiates our funds from the others today and here too, I think that majority of our investors are wealthy individuals, private individuals from Slovenia, some from Croatia as well. So it's about more than 200. And this gives additional responsibility, I think, although it's the whole industry about the funds is about the trust, but it's additional responsibility because we live here, these people, we meet them on the street every day. So the track record that we are living is really important. We started with the funds, with the fund industry here now. In our funds, it is multi-asset strategy. Asset manager, so it's like from restructuring, private equity, real estate, private debt, also renewable energy. And today the funds are manage 500 million euros. And this is what we did in the last 6 years. So there is appetite in the region, and also to say Alfie funds are the platform for Slovene investors, let's say, to jump on the train, what is going on in the region. What we are proud of, there are some companies that needed help in the past, because it's pity to lose some good companies. For example, I can stress out today, Tush, as a retailer, this was our biggest ticket at that point of time. Maybe, I think, till the end of the year, if everything goes well, there will be a new owner, and it will be a strategic buyer, which still means it will be, let's say, a new future for the company. And many others, but I think it will be chance later.
Thank you very much. Janis, your partner at Indivera Equity Partners, a new player in the market, recently established, backed by the funds from European Investment Fund. Can you please explain what is your strategy and what kind of assets are you looking in these markets, especially in Slovenia?
Yeah, we are a 60 million private equity fund, like you said, with solely institutional investors, EBRD, EIF, pension funds, investment funds. We have the investment territory of Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, and Montenegro. And we believe in having the local presence. That's why we have a local team and having the offices and partners sitting in Ljubljana, Zagreb, Sarajevo. What we want to invest in is actually exceptional companies in this region who have either products or services that are internationally competitive, not only on the European level, but also globally. And the other thing which is worth mentioning is that we would usually not acquire 100% of the company, but we believe in the partnership with the existing owners and managers. So actually we want to take then the company that we invest in together on the next level. When it comes to the success stories, we haven't done any exits yet, although we have many successes in 3 of our existing portfolio companies, one of them being Museum of Illusions, which is the largest privately owned entertainment museum network globally, and we opened a corporate museum on the Strip in Las Vegas last month.
Very good.
We're proud of that.
Very good location for team building. We heard a lot about Slovenia being an excellent geostrategic location as a gateway between Western, Eastern, Northern, and Southern Europe. How all 3 of you see Slovenia as a country that has a geographic advantage for your investments and potential it holds for your portfolio companies? Maybe we can start with you, Janis.
Yeah, definitely. We are, I think, ideally positioned here in Slovenia, and our companies have proven in the past that they were able to conquer markets both east and west. But what I would also stress as an advantage actually is this right size, so not being small but being right sized. Since we are investing in small and medium type companies, what the advantage is that we see is that once we approach them, and this is still, at the level of 5 to 10 million euro revenue, they have already gone abroad, because very early in their development, they actually need to go beyond their home market and start competing internationally. And by having to do so, basically they become usually the quite important players within certain industries, like I said, internationally, mostly on the European level.
Matjaž, do you see your potential targets only in Slovenia, or you're trying to build a regional story?
Absolutely not. I mean, it was told, let's go to the west, yeah. But I think historically, money flows in the direction from west to east, and immigrations go from east to west. So it's always difficult to go how to say, contra current. But still, it's challenge, of course. But I believe it's always about the partnerships. When we have to give a pitch of ourselves, we say we have the local intelligence. We know here in local environment who is who, what's the exit, what's the entrance, who is there. But it's about the partnership, and this is what we are doing in our last deals. If we wanted to do we did some acquisition in Germany, but we are present now with very big investment in Serbia. But it proved is to have a local partner and to do some. It's about hedging the risks. It's about more people together. It's double power or worries on half and so on. So it's about the partnership, yeah.
Very good. You would have heard yesterday over the dinner that this region, Slovenia, and the rest of the region lacks startups. As a venture capital fund, would you agree with that, or would you like to challenge this?
Yes, I would like to challenge this. Yeah, I did not mention this earlier, but our kind of one-liner is regional expertise, global reach, because we believe that we need to look at the whole region, and by region we have in mind our Western Balkan region, which we kind of know better. We know the language, we know the culture, and so on. We've got 4 offices: Ljubljana, Zagreb, Belgrade, Skopje, and we truly believe in local approach, meaning that you need to be close to the entrepreneurs in order to have this hands-on approach in managing those companies. If I compare this situation today to like 15 years ago, I think that there is a huge difference, and it's kind of unfair to say that that we do not have startups here. We do have startups. We have many startups. 15 years ago, people did not know exactly what a startup means. We had innovators that were normally, some crazy geeks with absolutely no entrepreneurial knowledge, and the entrepreneurial knowledge is what distinguishes between, IP, group of people that have, strong IP on some public institute, and a successful startup. So I think that, just look at some examples from Slovenia, from the region. We've been way behind in terms of the disposable capital for startups. This is changing now dramatically, and today I'm always saying that for a startup, it's much easier to raise early stage venture or seed capital in the region than it is in US. Of course, things get more complicated later on. But the whole environment is developing, although in recent year it's a little bit more challenging. But overall, I think that the whole environment is developing, and it's in a good way to be even more competitive to some other areas.
Good to hear. Every conference in the last 3 years on investments has mentioned ESG, and we would like to play it safe. We don't want to be ignorant, and we'll mention ESG. So how do you, Yanis, invest in your companies taking into account ESG? However, I have to mention that there are 2 camps. One camp we heard at this conference, very supportive, very active in ESG, but there's also another camp which says that ESG is unclear, there are no clear benchmarks, and there's a lot of greenwashing. I would like to hear your opinion on this, and I would like to hear concrete examples. How are you implementing ESG in your investments?
I think it's best to show an example, and here in the ESG, I will, as opposed to some previous speakers, concentrate on the E part of the ESG. Our investment in Slovenia, in Magles Hiše, which is the largest regional timber frame prefabricated building producer in the region, actually is the example of that. I don't know if many of you are aware, but cement is actually one of the largest polluters globally, representing around 8% of total CO2 emissions. And just as a comparison, aviation fuel is 2.5%. So now that Mr. Buscarolo will eliminate the 2.5% of the CO2, you know, with his hydrogen planes, we are striving to actually work on that 8% with our investment.
Very good. Matjaž?
Regarding greenwashing, in our company we don't need policy about gender equality because it's self-understood. But on the other side, let's say, from our funds, I can stress out our renewable energy fund, Alfie Green. We are proud of that we are part of this electricity transition of energy. We are building, we dedicated ourselves that we build wind plants and solar plants in the region. Currently, just we are finishing. It's still under construction, but it will be ready for operation in few months. It's 140 million euro investment in Serbia. Probably it will be one of the biggest Slovene investments there. It's Slovene money, again, partnership between Austrian banks, Slovene banks, international suppliers. It's about the partnership again, but still we see ourselves where we have the most of the knowledge is about to put the team together, because there was a lot of know-how here and how to make the platform that we can participate in this changing industry.
Very good. Jure, in venture capital, does ESG play any role at all? Or are you looking at companies that are active in this area? What is your strategy?
Best contact for these kind of questions is Tatiana, who is sitting down there. She's covering this part of our compliance, so to say. It has a huge role. I mean, first of all, if you want to raise a venture capital fund from institutional investors and you're not ESG compliant, you better stop doing it now, because you won't be able to do it. Secondly, the ESG-related risks are becoming more and more relevant, meaning that, you know, if you invest in a company that will not be ESG compliant, whatever this means for, you know, a number of possible reasons, that means that the cost of financing will be higher, that they will be, you know, stopped from operating on particular markets, and so on and so forth. So this all needs to be taken into account when doing the kind of risk profile of the potential target. And luckily, in our business, we are focused mostly on technology companies. We don't see many companies from so-called brown industries, or whatever they're called. But we're seeing a lot of companies where this gender equality and gender balance is challenged, because, you know, most of software engineers are, you know, coming from one side. And this will have an impact on our future investment policies and strategies, of course.
Matjaž, how do you find targets in the region, and which areas and sectors do you see are the most promising in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think niche production, because it's about having product with some special know-how. It means added value. This also means scalability, what we were speaking before. It's absolutely about the mentality of Slovenia. It's more about to deliver what you say, not our promise, but sometimes to grow you have to have different approach, but it's about, I think, niche production. This is where Slovenia is good.
Okay. Janez, we saw private equity firms entering in all sorts of ventures. You mentioned Museum of Illusions, which is a bit unusual investment, but it has been doing a great job for your fund. What kind of targets are you after in the region?
So, like mentioned before, you know, we definitely look for companies with international potential. And what is good about Slovenia, and now that I'm focusing more on this SME segment in this part of my life, I'm visiting a number of such companies in Slovenia, and I'm amazed that each valley each valley, I mean, really literally, I mean, there can be just one river and I don't know, a small town, but they have one local champion who is internationally, I would say, top of the class somewhere in the market they operate in. So this gives us actually a large number of potential companies to invest in, and I must say that this also differentiates Slovenia to maybe other countries in the region.
Very good. And as you approach these potential targets, Janez, I assume you are facing also a competition from international funds. And we saw and we heard how they are looking at the region. So what is your added value that you bring to the table? And what differs you from the international funds?
I mean, I believe that the larger funds are usually not looking for the size of the companies that we are approaching. So, I mean, of course, there are some exceptions when they're making some add-on acquisitions or going for the specific knowledge. But we basically see them as partners. We have relationships with many of them and have active discussions because we might do a deal together or have them as an exit opportunity for us. So, you know, and what we bring, I think it's what was mentioned before, it's just this local understanding and knowledge.
Yes.
I also get question nowadays, oftenly, there is more and more funds locally, from Croatia, abroad, from the neighboring countries. If like too much money is running for fewer deals, but I think that's the money that was sitting here before and that we manage is a smart money. You should not make stupid things. It's not, if you lose on a value, then you just lose it. So it's more about finding good deals and finding some special added value. And one more thing is, many Slovene companies that we meet is that they need to do homework themselves because it's too much on the two owners. Yeah? And there is then nothing gap between and then the others. And if something happens to these owners, the company is worth nothing. And this is sometimes when we are as a locals understanding different angles, and we do our homework that they qualify to do then the next step. And these are the partners, of course, everybody.
Good. How about in venture capital world, Jure?
I already forgot what the question was.
Is there a lot of competition when you are approaching targets? Is there a lot of competition when you try to do your investment?
Yeah, many funds are flying in, but they're flying out. So they're not, and the best thing for us is that they want to have, most of them want to have at least local co-investor in those deals because they want to have somebody who's not, who doesn't have to jump on a plane, fly for 7 hours to get to the entrepreneur, right? They want to have somebody who's living 1 hour drive away from this company that can jump in and help them and assist them on some local specific, topics or situations. That's one thing. The other one is that the region itself was totally under the radar until last couple of years. We had a couple of global champions from the region that were kind of, icebreakers for us because meeting an investor in New York, first question was, do you know Talking Tom? Yeah, that's from Slovenia. Nowadays we are mentioning, Infobip and Rimac and Talking Tom still and so on and so forth. So I think that the venture will never become a global business where a brand from one territory will conquer the entire world. It will always stay business in which partnerships will be, setting the rules and running the game.
Very good.
I think competition is good always. That's good for the industry that it will develop. And also, such conferences means more and more investors discover Slovenia. It's more opportunities for exit, then it's easier to speak with some financing institutions. But I also think we were speaking Slovenia, local position and everything, but it's about experience. And I really don't know foreign investors. I mean, it's difficult to speak generally, but let's go otherwise. Many foreign investors have very good experience here. They were speaking how good deals they did, and they are looking then for new deals, and also some people who are not present here, they always say people are reliable, they do what they promise, it's not the same for the whole region, and this also makes Slovenia, I mean, good experience, and then they speak between each other, and this is a very positive then point for Slovenia. And also the title is Hub for High Tech. It's also, I can say, you know the company Sport Radar, also the owner of Dallas, where Luka is playing. He's co-owner of Sport Radar, and Sport Radar decided to have an IT hub in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, for the whole Europe. That's also something. They are opening their offices now. They are our tenants. But they took the building for the 14 years, so they invested really a lot, which still is some more and more such companies, such investors, such reputable companies will give credibility that there will be more international deals.
Let's finish off with a look to the future. Jure, let's look at 10 years ahead. Slovenia wants to be a high-tech innovation hub. What are the concrete steps we need to do?
I'll be old then. So I hope Slovenia will be, I mean, what needs to be done first? It was mentioned so many times that I'm repeating all my previous, panelists here, but Slovenia is of the right size, and it has all the ingredients to become more, lean, flexible, also for the startups, investors, and taxes, of course. So technology companies are very mobile. They don't care, either they operate out of Ljubljana, Split, Belgrade, or San Francisco. They have their own notebooks, and that's all they have. Everything else is in the cloud. So we need to make this an attractive location to bring, to attract the founders to live here, because the living here is beautiful. So I don't see a reason why somebody would not want to live here. But we need to give them the comparable conditions to the competing countries around us. And when I summarize this, it comes down to taxes, right? And so this is, of course, other things, but I would focus on this first. And secondly, of course, this bridge between the academia, where a lot of IP is generated, and the entrepreneurial world and the investors world. Of course, there's some room for improvement, that we would be able to monetize all the IP that's being built in Slovenia.
Thank you. Matthias, Janez, final words from you. On the private equity side, what would you like to see changed?
You have capital side, I agree. You have to make good environment for the capital, but on the other side, it's all about people. The business is people, so there is lack of people everywhere. So people are not stupid, and there where they will feel good, they will be there. There will be business. And we were speaking today in the morning, it was really interesting with the family businesses. History of wealth is also being built now and in the next years, and this will mean again like new development, new perception of investing in such companies.
Yeah, I think everything was said already, either today or yesterday, but I would especially emphasize the educational part. So really, having the educational system that actually then produces the talents that the business need, because the businesses are there, and I believe that the youngsters will have the opportunity to work on the exciting industries in the future in Slovenia as well.
If you ask us about 10 years, it's about our children, yeah?
Yeah.
That's it. And all that we have children, and their wish is let's go outside, let's go abroad, but how to bring them back.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your insights, and I would like to invite you for another round of applause for my panelists. Thank you.